Well, the Population Division of the United Nations has existed since 1947. It was created to support the work of the Population Commission in the early days of the United Nations. And we have really three important areas of work. First of all, we provide support for the intergovernmental discussion of population issues. So whenever the governments come together within the United Nations to address population questions, we provide support by writing reports and helping to service those meetings. But also a second area of work, which probably is the area that you're most familiar with, we produce many publications with data on populations for all of the countries of the world. So we produce estimates of the size of the population and the distribution by age and sex, and also the components of population change, fertility, mortality, and migration. And we publish many reports, you've seen them, I'm sure, providing these data, and now all of the data and reports are available through the internet. And a third area of work is that we try to provide assistance to individual countries when they ask us to assist them in analysis of demographic data and production of population projections and so forth. So that broadly covers the work that we do. Yes, well, the world population today is approximately 7.3 billion people living on the planet. And our latest projections suggest that that could rise to around 9.6 billion by the middle of the century. And almost all of that growth will occur in developing countries, especially in Africa. And almost all of the increase also will be concentrated in cities rather than in rural areas. Yes, well, you know, we tried to make some evaluation of uncertainty by considering what would happen if fertility were a little bit higher or a little bit lower. And roughly, I think at that point, the uncertainty is plus or minus 1 billion people, possibly, as a result of having half a child more or less compared to the central projection, the central scenario. So there is uncertainty, but we do definitely expect that the population will continue increasing over that time period. Yeah. Well, Ined, as you know, is one of the most important centers of demographic research in the world. I think it remains the largest in terms of number of researchers, and it produces very important products, publications of all sorts, covering the full range of demographic questions. And in terms of possibilities for collaboration, well, we've had a few ideas, and I'm here to talk with people about some of those. One area that we're working on, we're always working to improve our estimates of historical population trends from 1950 to the present. And one thing that we've been trying to do is to improve the documentation that lies at the base of all those estimates. And we're hoping that we can work with Ined because you have very good resources here in terms of library and historical documents and so forth. So as part of a documentation project, we'd like to work more closely with Ined. And we think that will improve the transparency of the estimates, it will improve the quality of the work, and it will make the source data, the raw data that go into the estimates, that way we can make them much more accessible to the rest of the world and hopefully open up more types of demographic research if more people have access to all that data. So that's one of our goals. But then there are other areas in which people are working in Ined. For example, there's a project of research led by Véronique Ertrich on the nuptiality in Africa. And this is a very important issue because it relates to the rights of women, of young women, and the future course of their life. And so some of the researchers within the population division at the United Nations have been in contact, trying to share data and share knowledge about this situation. And this has implications, the age at marriage in countries has implications for not only the lives of the individuals, but also for the level of fertility in the society, which has implications for the population growth that we were talking about. So that's a very important area of work. What else could I mention? You have some dedicated programs of research here on international migration, which are also quite interesting to us. At the United Nations, people are talking more and more about international migration. And it's important to understand how immigrants become integrated into the societies where they live after they move. And it's also important to understand the connections to their home countries and processes of return migration and how they interact with their country of origin on an economic level and on a social level and even on a political level. So understanding the process of international migration and how it interacts with development and other political processes in both the country of origin and in the country of destination, this is very important. And there's some very interesting work going on here at Ined. And so we try to draw on that. When we advise governments, when we provide them information, we try to gather what we can from the different research institutes, including obviously Ined. So we appreciate very much the work you do in all these areas.